All right. Hello, everyone. Let me make sure I can see myself on the YouTube side. All right. We have the live icon. So let me make sure that my camera equipment is broadcasting the way that it should. There is an ad. All right. And there is me. All right, everyone. I don't have a lot to say. So I'm going to, unless people show up in the chat and want to talk with me, I'm going to keep this one brief. So I'm going to play the intro and then I will jump in. Coach Harbaugh has left and Coach Sherrone Moore is taking over. Go Blue. I'll see you on the other side of the intro. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I am the content creator for this channel, and I am a proud Michigan alum and a proud supporter of our Michigan football program. All right, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to be brief. I just wanted to come on and capture what's happening right now. This week, Coach Harbaugh agreed to a contract with the Los Angeles Chargers, and Coach Sherrone Moore agreed with the university to take over for Coach Harbaugh. So none of this was completely unexpected. Each of the last 3 years, Jim has been shopping himself around to the NFL and checking on availability for NFL jobs. It's become a bit of a ritual for us. So none of this was unexpected. And it's funny because a lot of people, well, from other fan bases, I'm thinking about one person in particular, speculated that that would wreck the program and that would wreck recruiting. And each of the last 3 years, Michigan just kept on rolling. So, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so before I jump in, yeah, so Jim is normally back there, this limited edition Coach Harbaugh bobblehead. He's usually back there, but I'm going to have him up here with me for this. I guess this is well, I knew that when I bought this would be a bit of a collector's item. I got this about 14 to 15 years ago. No, he came back to the school in 2014. So about 8 to 9 years ago is when I got this, and I said, okay, I'm going to get this at that time it was the MDen. This is going to be a collector's item one day. I didn't know when it would be a collector's item, but as of now, this is a collector's item. So I'm glad I picked this up. 9 years ago at the MDen. All right. I don't know how much it'll be worth, but it'll be worth something one day. All right. So yeah, so Jim, he's off to the NFL. And I think that I've said in my own content that for him, if this is what he really wants to do, which is it's what he really wanted to do, what better time to do it than right now at this time? If you stay, well, there was apparently the NCAA didn't like Jim for a myriad of reasons. And I, I think as he was shopping himself around the NFL this time, one of the things he was looking for was some sort of clause in the Michigan football contract to protect him against the NCAA. So I think that in large part had something to do with this. I think the landscape changed since when he first started. So the NIL became big, and apparently that became a hassle for a lot of the head football coaches. And then, as I said on Johnny Olton's channel last night, he took Michigan to the mountaintop in a very up and down and exciting and unprecedented year. But if he came back, it would basically be kind of a Nick Saban thing where you're fighting to stay on top. And the way this works, the way when you win championships, the question is always, okay, you won us one. Can you deliver us another one? Was that just a flash in the pan? Are you a one-hit wonder? Okay, you won us that one, but you haven't won us another championship since you won that one. So now it's time for a replacement. You're not as good as we thought you were. So it was going to be that thing. And aside from Nick Saban, I don't know that I've seen any other college coach in recent times stay with the program for 10 to 15 years. And I think Jim staying 9 years, for him, that was probably a stretch. But as I'm just going to reflect on his tenure for a moment, I could make a whole pre-record on this. The first part of Jim's tenure in Ann Arbor, and while it was exciting in ways, it was also painful. I mean, there was the excitement of him coming back that first year. You know, we had the Blake O'Neill punt debacle against Michigan State. That's a game Michigan should have won. We were overmatched against Ohio State, especially with Ryan Glasgow out with, I think he broke his forearm that year. Splashy U of M says we go 11-1 next year. Oh, I like your Buffalo Bills avatar there. Unfortunately, things didn't go well for the Bills on Sunday evening. So there was that. There was the JT Barrett first down game in 2016. There was Wilton Speight breaking his collarbone against Iowa in 2016. That season didn't end the way we wanted it to. Those were with Brady Hoke's players. And then the 2017 season, that was the transition. That was the transition from Brady Hoke's players graduating, and then Jim bringing in all of his new players. So I'm thinking Devin Bush. We had Eddie McDoom for that 1 year. You had Rashawn Gary in. You had who else? Who else was back there? Kids like Josh Metellus. You had all those kids coming into the program. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins. That 2017 year was a painful year because that was the transition. All the veteran players were leaving, and then all the seeds for the program going forward were coming in. Okay. And Michigan almost beat Ohio State that year in the Big House, except for that John O'Korn interception at the end. And we had instability at that position all year. Wilton Speight went out. John O'Korn couldn't hold it. Brandon Peters came in. John O'Korn took it back at the end because Brandon Peters got hurt against Wisconsin. So then you had the revenge tour season, right? Now you have some veteran players in there, and now you have a top tier quarterback. Well, what we thought was a top tier quarterback in Shea Patterson. They lose that first game to Notre Dame, and then they run the table up until Ohio State, and we all know how that went. Don Brown's defense got destroyed. And also, I thought Jim called too conservative a game plan in that game. And then in 2019, that was a mediocre year. Our team got shredded against Ohio State in the Big House once again. And at that point, Ryan Day had taken over for Urban Meyer. Jim never beat Urban Meyer. And then you're thinking, okay, well, Jim has not beaten Ohio State. Ohio State owns us. Maybe it is time for Jim to go to the NFL, or maybe Jim's not well suited for this job. Maybe this isn't it. Then we have the COVID year, and then people were really calling for Jim's head after those 6 games that we played. And then, Ohio State fans were on us for quitting against our rival. Shout out to Abdul Gaines. Ohio State fans were really on us. We had the quarterback controversy with Joe Milton. We saw Cade for the first time, and Cade looked like the quarterback of the future. And then the 2021 season came, the Cinderella season. I call it the Cinderella season. It wasn't really clear what we were going to get, okay, but there was a sense of optimism coming out of the COVID season and going into the 2021 season. Joe Milton moved on. Giles Jackson left. Nico Collins left the previous year. So in a lot of ways, the 2021 season, the Cinderella season, that was a clean slate. It was a fresh start. Josh Gaddis was the offensive coordinator. Jim brought in Mike McDonald as a defensive coordinator, fired Don Brown, cleaned house, brought in Ron Bellamy. I think we got Mike Hart that year as well. So it was a new look coaching staff. Michigan started the season unranked. And then we lost Ronnie Bell early, but as the season went on, the team got better and better and better. They got in the top 25, and they kept moving up in the top 25. We had the one loss against Michigan State, which we should have won, if not for that called back David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson strip sack. We should have won that game. Jim beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten, got to the playoff. We got smashed by Georgia. The next year, we switch out the quarterback. JJ takes over for Cade. You guys all know how that went. The team didn't quite roll the way everyone thought it should with our young phenom quarterback, but they were right there at the end. They went down to the shoe, and they beat Ohio State with C.J. Stroud. Surprised me, but I was happy to see it. Those 2 big runs at the end, the defense bottling up Ohio State. Okay, they get back to the playoff. They don't play a good game against TCU, but they were still in position to win it at the end. Okay, JJ says we'll be back. And then we had this season, which was an up and down season. The schedule was soft at the beginning. There was controversy at the beginning. Jim wasn't on the sidelines for those first 3 games. And then he wasn't on the sidelines for the last 3 regular season games: Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. But Sherrone Moore took the reins and led the team to victory. Speaking of which, I was thinking the other day, this year, of the 2 Michigan games I went to, I didn't see Jim live this year. So he was suspended for the first 3 games. And then for the Maryland game, he was suspended as well. So I never saw him live. But the point is, and I'm going to keep this short. Please smash that like button if you haven't. The point is, it wasn't a smooth ride all the way through. There was a lot of fanfare. There was a lot of excitement when he came back in 2015. And there were some painful moments in there for all of us at the hands of Ohio State fan. And I remember after the 2019 game, when Ryan Day and Justin Fields came in and whipped us, some of the reporters asked Jim, are you serious about winning the game? Do you want to win the game? And it was an awkward question, and he was like, "Yeah, of course I want to win the game, but for somehow we just keep coming up short." So there was pain in there for all of us, and it wasn't clear that Jim had what it took to do what happened this year, and that he should even stick around. So it just wasn't quite clear that they would ever win a national title. But he did. They did. Sig Mook KBR says, who do you think is going to be the next quarterback for us? Well, I was listening to Sam Webb's interview with another gentleman, and it looks like they're going to look at the quarterbacks already on the roster first before considering someone outside. I think Orji got in there, and he didn't really get to throw the ball, but with his mobility, if he can make wise decisions with his arm, maybe you start Orji. All right. I didn't see enough of the Denegal kid. I think I saw him. Yeah, we saw him early on when they were pulling JJ off the field in the fourth quarter. But that was it. But they put Orji in towards the end of the season to shake things up against Ohio State and against Iowa and against the two CFP opponents, Alabama and Washington. So I'm kind of leaning towards Orji right now, but someone has to win the job at this point. Please smash that like button if you haven't. So that's what I wanted to say about Jim's tenure. Thank you, Coach Harbaugh, for coming back. I think in the aftermath of Rich Rod and Brady Hoke, we needed someone like Coach Harbaugh, a former player, someone with a reputation, to come in and take the reins. And he did that. We needed some sort of hope in the aftermath of Rich Rod and Brady Hoke. We needed someone to restore a level of competitiveness to the program. We needed someone to generate excitement in the program. And Jim did all of those things. It wasn't quite clear if he would get us to the top. There were a lot of naysayers and a lot of there were some defectors by the time we got to the last 3 seasons, but those who stayed, the players, the fans, those who stayed, took part in the national championship. I'm gonna play the triple drop, and then I'll talk about Sherrone more. This will forever be. So Jim he's a legend now. So he's on that Mount Rushmore now of Michigan football coaches with Bo and Fielding Yost and all those guys. And it was good to see him be able to finish out his tenure like this, as opposed to getting fired, and as opposed to having left without leaving on a disappointing note. It's good to see him go out this way. So the triple, this is going to be a timeless quote at this point, especially for Ryan Day and Ohio State.
Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't. Thanks.
Okay. So just really briefly, so Jim signed with the LA Chargers. He signed a 5-year contract. Again, none of this was unexpected. He's got LA. He's got California roots. If you read the John U. Bacon book on him, when Jack Harbaugh was on Bo Schembechler's staff, and after leaving the Michigan football program, Jack Harbaugh moved the team up to California, and then Jim came back to Michigan to play quarterback, and then when his NFL career ended as a player, he started coaching with the Raiders, and then went over to San Diego and then Stanford. and then the 49ers before coming to Michigan. So he's got California roots. So he signed a 5-year contract with the Chargers. I don't know what the dollar amount is. It looks like he took Jay Harbaugh with him. It looks like, from what I'm hearing, he took Jesse Minter with him as well. So there are some coaching vacancies that Sherrone Moore is going to have to fill in the aftermath of Coach Harbaugh leaving. Let me see if the dollar amount is here in this piece. I don't think it is. I'm not going to be on long, guys. Keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. I think, Kenneth Joyce says, and Lloyd Carr. Yeah, Lloyd Carr won the national title before Coach Harbaugh's national title this year. Okay, so this doesn't say the dollar amount, but it's a 5-year deal. And you know what? I don't think it matters at this point. The point is he's gone and he moved on. So, and I think credit, you hear stories about how after a while, Jim and Ward Manuel kind of didn't like each other. So you wonder about how that relationship was. I was going to say credit to Michigan for keeping him around after the COVID year, even after so many people were calling for his head. But the question was, who else was Michigan going to get at that time? And then Jim also, I don't think, had a place to go until the last 3 years when he restored the program and we won the Big Ten title each of the last 3 years and got to the college football playoff. So credit, and he did take that pay cut too. So credit to the athletic department for handling that the right way. A lot of fans wanted Jim out of here. Well, they wanted him out of Ann Arbor after the COVID year, and some even before the COVID year. So credit to Ward and the athletic department for keeping him, even as fans were calling for his head. Hello, John Stoops. Thank you for stopping through. I'm going to talk about Sherrone really, really quickly. I think we're going to hear more news as the weeks and the months go on in terms of who he's going to bring on the staff, and also if he's able to retain the players or if players enter the transfer portal. Particularly, we need the defensive players who are still on the roster to stay, in my opinion. But that's going to depend upon who he picks as his defensive coordinator. So Sherrone, I'm not going to read this verbatim. I do that sometimes. Sherrone is the new Michigan Wolverines head coach, and this is by Isaiah Hull. I'm sure a number of you are familiar with Isaiah Hull. There's Sherrone right there. I don't know if that's his wife next to him. Let's see. So Sherrone signed a 5-year deal worth $5.5 million. Okay, not bad for a first-time head coach. So we know that Sherrone assumed the head coaching duties during the most difficult stretch of Michigan's Big Ten schedule this season, and he miraculously led Michigan to those 3 wins, even as J.J. McCarthy was not 100%, and he made some key adjustments in that Penn State game, going to the run game, putting that jumbo package on the field, and he got us out of Maryland without getting that L. I was at that game, and that was kind of scary. JJ was hurt, and it wasn't quite clear what kind of team we would have going against Ohio State and Maserati Marvin. And then Sherrone led the team to the victory over Ohio State. So he had 3 signature wins as the head coach, and he is now our head coach. And he's the first Black head coach that Michigan football has ever had. So he's making history in a way. But as I was talking with Johnny last night and with Maize and Blue, Michael Burden earlier today, now he is the guy. Now Sherrone is the guy. The bullseye is going to be on his back full time. And that's a different pressure, being the guy, than being one of the assistants. He got to taste the head coaching position those last 3 games, and I think the Bowling Green game. But it's going to be a different thing being the captain of the ship all the time. And I think his success, I think he's a smart guy in terms of coaching the offensive line and scheming and making adjustments in the game. I think he's a smart guy there, but I think his success is going to be impacted by who he hires. In this instance, on the defensive side, with Jesse Minter leaving, does someone like Coach Plinscales, does he get promoted to the defensive coordinator job? Does Coach Harbaugh help him out and help get him someone from the Baltimore Ravens tree to keep that going? All right. I think that's ideally what you want to do, so that you're not reteaching the scheme and having to rebuild that side of the ball all over again. And I think the other thing is, you have to keep in mind that while he did a masterful job taking over for Coach Harbaugh when those suspensions came down, it was the defense. The defense was arguably the MVP of our team. And the defense, in the harder games down the stretch, the defense won us those harder games. When the offense stalled out in those second and third quarters, when JJ wasn't making those completions, and when the opposing defenses adjusted to our run game, and when our special teams laid those eggs in the Alabama game, it was the defense that stood firm and made plays for our football team. So I think everybody should remember that. And I think it's going to be critical who Sherrone hires for his own staff going forward. That's going to be critical for his success, because as good as Jim is, as much fanfare as Jim had coming in, we saw that his coordinators are the ones that made the big difference in terms of him turning it around. It was the coordinators. It was Jim taking his hands off of the offense, because Jim called the offense for the first 6 to 7 years. It was him calling those plays. And then at some point after the revenge tour season, he took his hands off. He brought Josh Gaddis in, right? And then he fired Don Brown after Don Brown's defense got torched in consecutive years against Ohio State. So that's when he brought in Mike McDonald, and that's when he brought in Jesse Minter. So it's the coordinators, it's the staff that you hire underneath you that in large part impacts your success as a head coach at the college and at the pro level. NC Worker, thank you for stopping through. Everyone smash the like button if you haven't. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. So everyone, that's pretty much all I have. So it's going to be a lot of other fan bases like Ohio State. They're licking their chops and they're saying, you guys, someone was on Johnny Olden's panel last night. A Buckeye fan wandered over and said, this was a flash in the pan for you guys. Next season, it's going to be back to normal. We're going to whip you guys again. Okay. So some people are looking at this and saying, yeah, Michigan's going to go back to being a mediocre team. Jim Harbaugh's gone. Jesse Minter's gone. So they're going to flatline. Let's see. I think if Sherrone can keep that defense intact, there's some veterans coming back. Will Johnson. I hope they're able to keep Kenneth Grant, Rod Moore, Mason Graham. All those guys are still on the roster. So if he can keep the defense intact and generate some offense consistently next season, then the team can still be one of the top 12 teams, because the playoff is going to 12 teams next year. Okay. So now the other thing is everything is shifting. We're moving to 12 teams in terms of the playoff, and now the Big Ten is expanding. So Dan Lanning and Oregon are coming in. So there's another team to contend with there. How will that shake everything up? Kalen DeBoer, he's in Tuscaloosa. Michael Penix is going to the league, just like JJ. So I don't think they're going to be a power like they were this year. But Oregon's going to be a force to be contended with in the Big Ten Conference. So there are a lot of variables at play at this time. So we have to see what will happen. But I think Sherrone's a smart guy, and it's going to come down to, I think, how he's able to fill in that coaching staff as he takes over. Who is he going to put in there as the defensive coordinator and the special teams coach, and can they still recruit where they were when Coach Harbaugh was here? We didn't always get the top classes, but Coach Harbaugh got the program to the point where they were developing the players. The players were coming, and they were developing, and they were buying in. We didn't have that in the first 5 to 6 years, right? All right, that's all I've got. Does anyone else have any other comments before I wrap this up? I just intended to come on and say something about the coaching transition, and I didn't intend to go long. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? So that's what I think. That's what I have my eyes on. Maze and Blue Mike, he did mention the spring game to me. I may go to the spring game this year. Let me see if the date is listed right now. Michigan football spring game 2024. Let's see. Football schedule. I don't see the spring game here yet. But let's take a look at the team schedule for next season. Does anyone else have any more comments before I wrap this up? Because I'm going to wrap this up shortly. Next year's schedule. Next year's schedule. It kicks off on August 31st. Michigan hosts Fresno State. Michigan looks like Michigan hosts Texas. I was trying to see where the game is. So that's going to be in Ann Arbor. That's going to be a huge game. Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian, Arkansas State. Michigan hosts Arkansas State. Michigan hosts USC on Saturday, September 21st. Michigan hosts Minnesota. Michigan goes out to Seattle to play Washington. My graduate advisor almost moved our lab when I was at Michigan. My graduate advisor almost moved our lab out to Washington, to Seattle. Maybe I'll go to that game. Michigan goes to Illinois. Michigan hosts little brother, Cal U, Moo U. Michigan hosts Oregon and Dan Lanning. That's going to be a huge game. Oregon and Dan Lanning. All right. They're playing for clicks. We're playing for wins. Michigan goes to Indiana. Michigan hosts Northwestern. And then Michigan goes to the Shoe. If we can beat them 4 straight years, yeah, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan after Jim Harbaugh leaves in the Shoe, yeah, Ryan Day will probably be toast after next season. So Ohio State and Ohio State fan is really going to be gripping for that victory. They're really gonna want that victory bad. Mason Blue Mike has entered the building. Mason Blue Mike said the spring game is in April sometime. So I've never been. Yeah, that's right, guys. I've never been to the spring game. So I will probably try to go this year. So that's it, everyone. That's all I got. Does anyone else have anything else to say before I wrap this stream up? So, hey, congratulations to Coach Harbaugh. Going back to the NFL, good luck on winning your Super Bowl. I think you'd be one of the few. Geez, is there another coach who has both a national title and a Super Bowl championship? Or would Jim be the first one? But that would put him over his brother, because his brother only has the Super Bowl championship. And they're both in the AFC, so they might meet up in the conference final, the conference championship at some point. So good luck, Coach Harbaugh, on your next endeavor. Thank you for what you did here in Ann Arbor. Thank you to the athletic department for not cutting him loose 5 years ago. And congratulations to Coach Moore. And good luck captaining the ship going forward. So everybody, I'd say, it's funny, our fan base is kind of split down the middle. You have rational fans in the Michigan fan base, and then you have the irrational fans in the Michigan fan base. So those irrational fans can be pretty unhinged and pretty crazy at times, and at the slightest bit of adversity, unfortunately, those fans will call for his head. But I think we have to be patient here and give him time to see if he can keep the culture going and maintain what was built. It's not going to be easy as the head guy with that bullseye on his back, because if they start experiencing some adversity, they're going to be the first. He's going to be the first one that they come for. He's going to be the first one that they come for, that unhinged side of our fan base. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up, and I will say this. In terms of being a YouTube content creator, Jim Harbaugh has been the head coach every year I've done this. I started this channel in 2020. I started my main channel in 2019. I started this channel in 2020. And I always wondered, should I keep the channel going even after Jim leaves? But I think I will stay on for a little while. I don't know that I'll be YouTubing until I retire or until I turn 70. But I'll keep going for a while. But it certainly will be different without Jim there on the sidelines. Let's end with one more Coach Harbaugh drop. Let's end with this one.
With the right approach, with the right work ethic, with the right team first mentality and teamwork, that you can make anything happen. You can bring anything to life.
Everyone, I was thinking during that drop, the other wild card is going to be whatever happens with the NCAA. Is it just going to be a slap on the wrist, or will it be something more severe for us? Or will it be nothing at all? That's going to be the other wild card. All right, everyone. Look out for the next one. Let's see who he puts, how he's able to fill out his coaching staff. And let's keep our fingers crossed that our veteran players, particularly on the defense, stay in Ann Arbor in this era of the NIL and the transfer portal. So if you're watching on the playback, let me know what you think in the comments section below. And everyone, go blue. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Who's got it better than us? And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. And hey, everyone, still for the time that you still can, enjoy the national championship. I have to get some paraphernalia myself, and I suspect I hope they make a documentary on this season, because they have to. This needs to be. It was such a dramatic season, not just because we won it, but because of everything that happened during the season. I hope they make a I hope they make a documentary on it. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you next time. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Go Blue.